Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Unbroken Circle Druid in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod that was made by Havsglimt here. Now, this is kind of similar to the Green Knight that I've covered in the past. So it's like a Druid that's almost like a fighter. Previously I did the Green Knight, which is a fighter that's like a Druid. This gives us some pretty cool abilities, which we'll get to in a second here. But a brief overview, you get the Unbroken Shillelagh, or Shillelagh, depending on your pronunciation of this, which allows you to power up your weapons. You don't have to use clubs or quarterstaves. You can actually apply this to any weapon. We also get the Wild Recovery, which allows us to expend our wild shapes to actually heal ourselves. We get Shillelagh Mastery, which allows you to increase overall damage. And it was kind of cool. You can use a lot of different weapons for some very fun different builds. And you also get the War Druid, which lets you do a cantrip and then also do a bonus action attack. So lots of fun abilities, kind of like the Eldritch Knight Druid kind of mix here. Now, starting off at level 1, we're going to grab Shillelagh, and I guess we could always just wait for the other one. And Thorn Whip there. Early on, use a torch with Shillelagh. You'll get the highest damage possible. Thorn Whip's nice to pull enemies towards you, and Produce Flame's actually kind of decent too, because it gives you a light source. Now, we're actually going to want to definitely build around our Wisdom here, as this stat will impact our attack rolls and our spell casting. So that's something we obviously want very high. We'll also want to have a decent bit of Dexterity there just for our overall initiative and armor class. So I think that a stat spread of something like this can work well. You can even take the points of strength, put them in charisma here, and go with 16 dex, 16 wisdom, 14 constitution, although you could swap the dex in constitution. Level 2 is when we get to take the Unbroken Circle here. So we got that Unbroken Shillelagh, so imbue your melee weapon with nature's power, causing it to deal 4 to 11 piercing damage, and use your spellcasting modifier for attack rolls. So this gives us the wisdom-based attacks. And if you're using a weapon that's like smaller than a 1d8, it'll actually boost its damage. So if you have a dagger that's 1d6, you actually get a lot more out of it. And then we also get our Wild Recovery there, again, expending Wild Shape charges to heal ourselves, and this is a bonus action ability, which is very nice. The other thing is we also have those Wild Shape charges that we could use to actually transform into different animals, which is great too, so you have a great amount of options here. Now, I'd recommend grabbing Healing Word to pick up downed allies as a bonus action, Create or Destroy Water, as this is just really good for setting up and making enemies slip and fall with ice, Long Strider, increasing movement speed, Thunderwave if you can push back enemies off of ledges, and Ice Knife for being silenced. Although you're probably better off just doing a normal weapon attack. Level 3 gives us some pretty strong concentration-based spells. Like we get Spike Growth, which is just phenomenal. We can later take this off and use our Woodland Being to hold that concentration. And I like Hold Person too. Since we are going to do melee attacks, we may as well have a strong ability to hold them in place and get critical hits for free. And we can grab another cantrip there, and we'll get a feat. Alert to go first in combat is always going to be a good choice, although Wisdom Increase can work great too. I'm just going to go with the Alert because we want to be able to go first. And for our prepared spells, I guess we'll add back Ice Knife, although Fog Cloud can actually work pretty decently on this build as well. Level 5 gives us our improved Wild Shapes. We can make an extra attack. If we do Shapeshift, we get access to level 3 spells. Call Lightning's okay, but since we're a melee attacker, we don't really care too much about that. We'll go with Sleet Storm and Plant Growth, as this is crowd control without concentration, and this one will upset any of these spellcasters that we go against, which is really great. Into level 6 this is when we get our Shillelagh Mastery. So when we're wielding a weapon under effects of Unbroken Shillelagh, you can attack twice instead of once using your action. That's great. This is not stacked with extra attack from other classes, but basically it's like the Bladesing Wizard level 6 spell slot, or I guess it's comparable to the Warlock, but we get it at level 6, so it's a little different, but I think it's awesome. And we'll leave our spells as such. Now, level 7 is when we get our best spell selection with a lot of really useful spells. We're going to want to have the Woodland Being there because that gives us something that can hold our concentration on Spike Growth, so we can remove that. We'll take Ice Storm because this can make enemies slip and fall. It creates difficult terrain. Just a really good spell to have for 2 turns of ice surfaces. Grasping Vine is actually pretty nice because they did rework this into a bonus action, and it's just good to hold, pull enemies towards it and also take attacks for your team. Confusion's a great spell too, and you can even go Conjure Elemental. Level 4 spells are really good for this class. Level 8 just gives us access to, I guess we got everything that we need there. And then we'll give ourselves the second feat of an increase to our Wisdom. You could go Warcaster to get advantage of Constitution saving throws, but I do think that Wisdom's a little bit better of an increase. Level 9, not really the greatest spell selection. We do get our Elemental here. Now what's great with the Elementals is the Water Elemental's main attack will actually set up vulnerability to cold damage. So we got some decent options for damage, and this pairs well if you have like a Sorcerer on your team as well. But we're a melee attacker. We got War Druid now. So if we do a cantrip, we can then do a bonus action attack. This is going to be situational where you'd get this to work best. Like, I can see it like if you use the Lashing Whip to pull an enemy closer to, they normally wouldn't be able to run towards and then make a free weapon attack against them. I think that's probably the best use for this ability. Pretty cool stuff though. War Druid is pretty fun. And then we, again, we already got pretty much everything we want. Outside of combat, Contagion can actually be kind of interesting. but we're going to grab Grasping Vine and potentially even take Wall of Fire too, because that's just a good crowd control based spell. Level 11 gives us some pretty awesome spells. I like to have Hero's Feast for the entire team, give ourselves a boost to health, and even Sunbeam's nice to be able to blind people, but we don't care too much about spellcasting. We want to be free to do melee attacks. So while we do have these abilities here, you can take them. It's not really super necessary for the build. And for our feat at level 12, we'll take a wisdom increase and boost up to 20. And now that we're at level 13, you don't have to go past level 12. It's actually a very balanced class if you stay at level 12. I'm just going to go past this to show off the further abilities, but I just want to remind you this is not necessary. And actually everything that we get for spells is not really something we do care about, as we got everything we already want. It's level 14 ability here, the Nature Armor. Your connection to nature allows you to shield yourself from harm. At the start of each of your turns, you gain a number of temporary health points equal to half your druid level. That's pretty good, just giving you extra survivability here. If you're to go past this, you can just take a dexterity increase for your feet and or a tough feat for the extra 20 or 40 health. Now the outfit I was wearing for this video is the Death Wielder's dress from Ethereal Threads with the Faerun colors, and I'm using Sylvanas dye. Now the Druid gets actually really great armor class with medium armor, so this allows us to wear Helmet of Arcane Acuity, so when we do melee attacks, we actually build up our Arcane Acuity. So this can give us a plus 10 to our spell save DC and spell attack rolls, meaning we'll land all of our spells once we get attacking a few times. Cloak of Protection or really Death Sacramental, your choice. You can even throw on the Cloak of Elemental Absorption. I like the Armor of Agility or the Yon Scale Mail in Act 2, and in Act 1, I also like the Adamantine Scale Mail there, as all of these give you the best overall armor class and benefits at the respective acts which you get them. Since we got medium armor, it's just really good to use it. So that's what I would recommend throwing on. Now for gloves, I'm going with the Luminous Gloves. There's a little bit of an interaction that I got going on here. So the Sacred Star does a little additional radiant damage. You don't have to use the Sacred Star. It's actually something you can choose your own weapon. It's actually probably best to use it on some of the daggers and weapons that we don't normally get access or don't normally use because they will get that additional damage die. So if we have something like this is a 1d4 damage, we can actually turn it to a 1d8 and get the additional 1d4 psychic damage on it. So the Mind Sundering Dagger is actually a good choice. I'm going to use this though, because this gets additional radiant damage. So it's like still going to be that 1d8 plus 1d4 radiant, but it also can apply radiating orbs. And then with the Luminous Gloves, it'll apply radiating orbs. And then with the Coruscation Ring, whenever we spell cast while we're illuminated, we apply radiating orbs. And then we also got the Callous Glow Ring here. It's not popping up, which whenever we do an attack, we can apply 2 points of damage, which are radiant damage, which again procs our gear. And then I also got the Boots of Stormy Clamor, so that when we proc radiating orbs, we also apply reverberation. So we're good at debuffing as well as just doing damage. We're a melee character, but we got crowd control, we got damage reduction, we got support, we got it all. I also have the Hellrider Longbow for that +3 to initiative, and then also Amulet Greater Health boost. Put our health up to 223, and that half Druid level added to our temporary health is also nice. Also, if you go to level 20 with the Druid, you get unlimited wild shape charges, so that can be kind of funny considering we get that healing of 1d10. It's not a very high heal, but you can use that and spam it. Also, if you want to be cheap, you can use like Mark of Heshker to staff a spell power and then give your entire team Hero's Feast. And why I like Hero's Feast the most is sometimes you get lucky and you can get pizza in here. Or the very powerful water bottles, which we can throw with our Mage Hand. And if you want to be an extra cheesy pizza, you can then take the Staff of Spell Power, use its Arcane Battery, and summon in an Elemental. Water Elemental if you want to go about, if you have other casters that can do any type of cold or lightning damage. And otherwise, I would recommend the Air Myrmidon because they can stun enemies, so it's a really good one. Recommend doing it before using Hero's Feast because the Hero's Feast will apply to it, but yeah, it doesn't really matter here because we're going to stomp anyways. Now, we actually got really lucky here with our Air Myrmidon actually rolling a similar initiative to us, so we want to remove this character here. That's not going to be very likely. Because if we can get our Myrmidon on the same initiative as us, especially if you have the Water Myrmidon or the Water Elemental, that can get pretty crazy. Now, I applied the Shillelagh before getting into combat there, so we get the extra attack off. So what we want to do first is to get around and start debuffing the enemies and stacking up our spell save DC. So we'll just go with the regular old attack here. We'll roll the free crit. That's not going to take the target out, but we applied 3 turns of Radiating Orbs, which is just great. And then we took out the enemy there, adding additional radiant damage. What we want to do is take out spellcasters like this one here, which are going to prove to be a thorn in our side if we don't deal with them quickly. I also forgot to summon in the Woodland Being, but that's something we would do to have the Woodland Being hold our concentration on spike growth, and then it also has a concentration that you can use. So we'll use Ice Storm here because I have no really other option. I want to deal a bit of damage. You can get additional bludgeoning damage whenever you upcast it, although I do not really recommend doing this. We're desperate for damage though, so I'm going to upcast it at least 1 time to hopefully pick off another enemy there, knocking them prone, and also applying Radiating Orbs on a few of them here. So 4 stacks, 4 stacks, pretty good stuff. We can also then use the grasping vine, which is kind of funny. So we can pop this down somewheres here, and then you can use that as difficult terrain and pull enemies towards it. It'll also draw aggro away. It has 26 health, which is not amazing, but it's there for just extra support. The Air Myrmidons being so great because of that electrified flail, potentially stunning a target, and if they get stunned, that means that they don't get to act on their next turn, and the Myrmidons can also teleport. We almost applied reverberation there. Sometimes that can be really funny with how the boots work, because the ground is considered a status that can actually apply certain buffs, like reverberation, oddly sometimes. Now we have our grasping vine here, which you can use the grasping pull. We can actually pull some targets that we want closer to us, so we can use that. Didn't really have the greatest success, but it's an option. Now, I didn't think I had strong enough to get past this ice surface that we need to do melee attacks there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start off with just a single melee attack on this target, hopefully to do a good bit of damage. We got Radiating Orb set up. That's fine. Now, what I got to do is use an arrow mini targets to try and apply some debuffs to the enemies. We're close to a target, so we have disadvantage. There's still 90% hit chance there. But yeah, we were able to take out one target, apply Fairy Fire to another. I want to get Radiating Orbs off on the enemies there. Didn't get as much success as I wanted to, but I guess now we should probably do a spell, and I could go with a Wall of Fire here. Now, Wall of Fire actually has crazy range, so that's why I'm going to pop that down. Not a bad concentration hold. We did quite a bit of damage to those enemies there. But the really big thing with the Wall of Fire is that we can actually pull some enemies towards our vine there. I'm going to just stand right here. I was going to eat that opportunity attack, but it's fine. Now, what's great is this will actually also apply Radiating Orbs on the enemy, so he took a couple extra Radiating Orbs. He did lose them on that attack, but that's a great thing with Wall of Fire is it can also be... Oh, he ran through it again. What a silly goober. But yeah, it's actually really strong. We'll then use our Myrmidon here. It got hit by the fire. It was a very bad step. And we also got Radiating Orbs on it too, so it actually got the stun off. That was surprising considering we debuffed it. They just got burned to a crisp. And then since they're burned to a crisp, we'll pull this target that we wanted to get earlier. And he saved on it, but we could have pulled him into the fire too. They're running, yeah. Wall of Fire is sometimes so funny, especially if you use it in diagonal line. For some reason, the enemies love to just run straight through it for whatever reason. He's burning because he got stunned in the fire. We're getting hit with command, but we have Psionic Dominance from our lifted abilities. Otherwise, we would have been screwed. I don't have anyone with Counterspell here. You always want to have someone with Counterspell. It's just something that's important for team building. But now it's our turn again, so we already have our Wall of Fire up, so we again can't really do too much. We could drop a wall of our Ice Storm back here, which forces them to then move forwards into our fire, but that's a little bit too chaotic, and I feel like evil for us. So we're just we'll break our concentration and use a Sunbeam. That's fine. Again, we're using a level 20 build, so it's a little bit overpowered. But the greatest thing about that is with that, we can always then recast the Sunbeam, and since we got haste up, this lets us do it again, which is great. And I'm just trying to find the target there. We might be able to get lucky here with landing this and hitting both targets. We might be able to do that. I got unfortunately unlucky there and got mind broken, but we somehow were able to deal damage to that target there. But again, the real MVP is probably going to be the Myrmidons, because getting a stun off 2 stuns in a row is actually nuts. What's great about that is we lost our turn there, but we can then go ahead. I meant to do a melee attack there, but that is a melee-focused Druid. You only get the Unbroken shillelagh or shillelagh for 10 turns, so that's something you got to keep in mind with this, but very fun. Love the green glow in the weapons. I like Druids, and this is just a fun one. They get a great spell list, and this can be very adaptable. I'd recommend, again, using the Woodland Being. I just remember to bring them in because they can hold your spike growth, so you can become an absolute crowd control master and a melee attacker. So lots of fun combination you can do with this build. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed. We'll catch y'all in the next video.